Hey guys, Jack Cypher. What's this? A Naruto video. But Cypher, we haven't done a Naruto video in what? 5, 6, 7 videos? It'd be something like that. The last big chunk of videos have all been One Piece content. I've just been really much in a One Piece mood, and I find it easier to talk about content that I'm super into at the moment. But not One Piece, like Naruto, is my first love, so I'm never going to forget this. I will always be continuously uploading Naruto content, so don't fear. Today, we're going to be talking about Kakashi. It is going to be a long video, I imagine. If you've just seen the most two recent videos I've done, my Monet video was just as long as my Fujitora video somehow. Don't ask me how that happened. A very minor character I can talk to for ages. So someone like Kakashi, well, we're going to be here for a long time. So now that the shamelessly self-advertising is over, let's go on and start deciphering everything that we know about Kakashi. Let's start off with his father, Sakamoto Hatake, the White Fang of the Leaf. One of the most interesting characters that we never really learn anything about, I would say. I know that a couple of years ago, was it a couple of years ago or was it only a year ago? Anyway, the character poll for Naruto in terms of who would get their one-shot manga. Sakamoto had a lot of votes for him because everyone was very interested to find out more about him because we only get very small glimpses of it. But Sakamoto is Kakashi's father, and he was considered to be just as strong as the legendary Sannin. There were some mistranslations a long time ago that said that he was stronger than all three of the Sannin combined. But I believe that that was false. That there was mistranslation with that. Let me know down in the comments if you guys know more. But at least for now, I'm going to assume that he was like Sannin level. If he is as strong as the three Sannin put together, that is incredibly overpowered for a character that we don't know anything about. The Sannin are Kage level ninja. Some of them would even be a little bit stronger than your average Kage. So for him to be as stronger than all three of them, we're talking about like, a Hiruzen level shinobi, which I didn't really get the impression of. But do let me know down in the comments what you guys think of how strong Sakamoto is. Sakamoto plays a really big part in Kakashi's youth and the way he's going to grow up as an adult. We see a scene with Sakamoto taking Kakashi to the Ninja Academy, and this is where they meet Guy. And this is the start of everything with Kakashi and Guy's rivalry, their friendship. It's a quite beautiful scene where Kakashi kind of sees Guy, takes his measure. He doesn't think anything of him. He's just some nobody. Kakashi's going to be this prodigy that's basically comes across once every generation, and he doesn't take much measure of Guy. But it's Sakamoto that, he leans down to Kakashi and he tells him, you should learn his name, because the way that boy's training, he's going to be as strong, if not stronger than you. And Kakashi has the deepest respect for his father. So with him saying that, he kind of does take a step back and be like, oh, maybe my first impression of him was wrong. I'll follow my dad's advice here. And he asks for Guy's name. Guy gives it by telling Kakashi that he's going to be the strongest kid around. And that's the start of a beautiful friendship in the Naruto series. And Sakamoto's words prove to be true, which just goes to show a feat of his analytical skills there, and his observational skills, because Guy does surpass Kakashi. Whether or not you think... What do you guys think of this? 8 Gates Guy versus Kakashi with Susanoo Mangekyo Sharingan. Post down in the comments who would win, and if you want a video on it. Straight up, I do have a very kind of idea in my head about who would win that fight, but I would need to look into it a little bit more and kind of see if there were any potential outcomes that I was missing. But let me know down in the comments if that's something that would interest you guys. So Sakamoto, he's Kakashi's idol, and it's he that inadvertently causes Kakashi to have such a bitter outlook on life, because Sakamoto ends up preferencing the mission that he's on. Sorry, that's the exact opposite of what he's doing. He preferences his comrades over the mission that he's on. And he abandons the mission and he saves his comrade's life. Comrade, sorry, not comrade. And in doing so, he gets vilified by everyone. Even the people that he saved, they had wished that Sakamoto didn't save them and that if he had just carried on the mission. It just kind of shows the militaristic life that the shinobi of this time are living. We just see shinobi throwing around magical powers type of thing and just think it's really cool. But if you really look into just how horrible their style of life is, it's actually very sad to look at. That that someone could go out of their way to save their comrades but be vilified for it because everyone around you grows up with the same kind of dogmatic view on what a shinobi should be, what a village should be, what it means to be alive. And Sakamoto was ahead of his time. He's pulling out things that Naruto, in present day Naruto, pulls out. He chose to save his comrade's life. And getting vilified for that was too much for Sakamoto to bear. I won't I won't necessarily say it was the whole village's animosity towards Sakamoto that caused him to, due to YouTube regulations, unalive himself. It could have just been that Sakamoto realized the consequences of his actions by not completing the mission. It may have led to more deaths, and Sakamoto's seen this, and he may have unalived himself out of atonement. We see this a lot in ancient history in Japan and stuff like that with seppuku and everything. He may have thought that by unaliving himself, he was reclaiming not just some of his honor, but some honor to Kakashi as well, in the sense that Sakamoto may have thought that people may have started to, belittle Kakashi for his father's actions. Now, that's just headcanon. We don't know one way or the other. It may have just been because he couldn't handle the animosity of the villagers, like I said. But it does inadvertently cause a lot of harm to Kakashi, as you can probably imagine. Sakamoto wasn't just his father, it was his hero, it was his idol. And to see him die, and for the reason why he died, it caused Kakashi to have a very bleak outlook on life. He decided that the rules were more important than your comrades' lives. And it takes his relationship with Obito for Kakashi to kind of see the errors of his ways there. But for the longest time, he does uphold the mission before his comrades' lives. And that will lead into one of the most iconic lines in Naruto, and we'll get into that soon. But like I said, it's his relationship with Obito. So what was that relationship? To know that, we need to talk about the whole relationship between that current day Team 7. We know that Team 7 plays a role in every generation of the Leaf Village. You had the Sannin, then you had Minato, then you had Kakashi's group, and then Naruto's group. But in the group, there was Minato Namikaze, the sensei, the fourth Hokage, who would later go on, to be the fourth Hokage. You had Rin, you had Obito Uchiha, and you had Kakashi. And straight away, we see the dynamics of this trio here. Rin is in love with Kakashi because of his abilities. It doesn't really seem to be anything deeper than just superficial coolness that she's attracted to with Kakashi. Obito loves... What is my hair doing? Sorry, guys. Obito loves... That looks even worse. Not cutting that out. Obito loves Rin, and to see her affection for Kakashi is very difficult for him to bear with, so he reacts negatively towards Kakashi, always trying to one-up him, Because in Obito's mind, if he kind of does better than Kakashi, then all the reasons why Rin is liking Obito, she will then, transfer those feelings. Let's rewind there. Rin's feelings towards Kakashi, if they're all superficial reasons because of how good Kakashi is, then if Obito becomes better, then by his logic, and it should rightfully be so, that her feelings could then move over towards Obito. That's his wishful thinking that he's having. I'm not trying to belittle Rin in saying all her feelings for Kakashi are superficial, but we never really get to explore it more on why she likes him, other than the same reasons why the girls in the academy liked Sasuke. Because Kakashi was talented. And that's, like I said, it's not so much a dig on her. These are, children at the time. Kind of goes into our whole discussion about the current state of affairs for the Hidden Leaf Village and Shinobi in general. It's not a good environment that children are raised in, but it makes sense about why someone so young could have those affections towards the cool kid. Um, and that trio of relationships kind of dictates how the story goes. Because what happens is that they get brought on a mission by Minato to go destroy Kanabi Bridge. It's a bridge that is used by the Hidden Stone Ninja to transport goods and weapons and stuff like that. It's a supply bridge, and it would do a great kind of military victory if they're able to destroy that bridge. And that's what they do. They go on this mission. They encounter Hidden Stone Shinobi pretty early on into it. And Kakashi tries to show off and demonstrate his new technique that he's learned, the Chidori, or the Lightning Blade. His most iconic technique, but at this stage he hasn't mastered it yet. And he tries to take down the Hidden Stone Shinobi, and it's Kakashi's own speed that kind of gets in his way. Um, and he leaves himself open towards the Stone Shinobi trying to land a fatal blow on him. It's thanks to Minato and his teleportation where he, counters the Stone Shinobi, gets Kakashi away, then he teleports back over to the Stone Shinobi because he's marked him and takes him out. It was a really kind of badass showing for Minato. He looked really cool in it. But it was a good example of Kakashi's. It was a physical showing of telling the audience that Kakashi's relationship with Obito is what allows him to then master the Chidori. It's quite beautiful storytelling there. Because after that confrontation, Minato needs to leave them. He entrusts destroying the bridge up to them, while he goes and handles the main force of Stone Shinobi that are attacking. And it's Minato. He handles them quite easily. But he's left this mission in the hands of kids, capable kids, but still kids. And like kids, they're prone to bicker. Because what happens is Rin gets captured by Stone Shinobi. And this is where we see Kakashi's current ideology really kind of get in the way of his team. Because, like what happened with his father, he doesn't want to go back and rescue Rin because, one, he looks at it very coldly but not untruthfully. Because she's a medic ninja, they're more likely to keep her alive and try get information out of her, try use her to heal their side. So that's kind of like the... It's kind of like the reasoning that Kakashi's using to himself to explain his actions. The truth of the actions is that he thinks that the mission comes before your comrades. And he doesn't want to repeat the same mistakes that he sadly thinks his father committed. And this is where we get a great showing from Obito. He had a prior conversation with Minato the night prior, and he learns about Kakashi's father. And he tells him that the White Fang of the Leaf was a true hero. And Kakashi's shocked that he knows about his father and stuff like that. And Obito goes on to say, like we were talking about, probably the most iconic line in Naruto, that those who abandon the mission are scum, but those who would abandon their comrades are worse than scum. Um, it's a really deep and great line that a lot of people don't reflect on enough just because of how like often it's said, but it is truly it's such a beautiful line. And Obito goes further and he says, "I'm scum. I'm going to abandon my mission and I'm going to go save my comrade." Because it's not just the fact that he loves Rin. Any comrade Obito at this current Obito would go and save, and that's what he does. He goes to save her, but as the two are arguing, one of the Stone Shinobis attacks. In the confrontation, Kakashi loses his eye, and Obito was able to save him by activating his Sharingan. And once Kakashi sees that Obito's saved him, he's kind of coming around to Obito's ideology here and agrees that Rin should be saved. And they go on, they find where Rin's captured, and they go there and they confront the enemy. And it's just, I can gush about this series so much. They attack the shinobi who's a higher grade than them. Well, no, Kakashi's actually a Jonin at this time, but more experienced and more powerful. And the way they get through this is by seamless teamwork. Like, these guys have been at each other's throats since they've joined Team 7. But now that they've put their differences behind them, it's like poetry seeing their teamwork here. There's this scene where he throws his legs out and grabs the stone shinobi, and that gives Kakashi the time to cut him down. And after that, they go and release the genjutsu on Rin and are about to escape with her. But they didn't realize that that stone shinobi that they just took down was still alive, and he causes the whole cave to collapse. And as it's collapsing, Obito very, very heroically, and when you really think about it, he throws the person that's been, I guess you could say, mean. We know Kakashi wasn't purposely trying to be, but he was coming off as an ass to Obito. I won't go so far as to say a bully, but he's someone who he was in an oh my god, I cannot speak today. Antagonistic, there we go, relationship with, and he throws him out of the way, and he gets crushed by all these boulders. For Obito, and as a kid, to do that, it just goes to show his character. It goes to show the traits that would have made him an exceptional Hokage. And with Obito being crushed by the boulders, half of his body is completely crushed. And he talks to Kakashi and Rin, and he lets them know that they need to escape now because the whole cave is going to come down. And he talks about how he hasn't given Kakashi a gift for Kakashi being promoted to a Jonin. And that's what he does. He gives him a gift that Kakashi never could have possibly dreamt of. He gives him his undamaged Sharingan. Rin, being a medical ninja, is able to transport it over. I don't know how eye physiology works in Naruto, but they seem to kind of just be able to take it from one and put it into the other. And that's what they do. And there's tears everywhere. Kakashi and Rin escape the crumbling cave, and Obito meets his fate, in quotation marks. And Kakashi, now armed with a Sharingan, armed with a part of Obito, is what gives Kakashi the ability to use his most dangerous technique, the Lightning Blade, and he uses it to take out all the shinobi that have come to confront him. And it's just a very beautiful scene. Kakashi and Obito's relationship, while not long, makes you wish for more of it. More of that kind of like, now that they've gotten past all the negative stuff, to see them have a positive time together. And you don't see it, unfortunately. And it gets worse from there. Rin, his other friend, gets captured by Hidden Mist Ninja and gets the Three Tails injected to her, sealed into her, to be used as a weapon to attack the Hidden Leaf Village. Kakashi is sent to confront her. He knows what's happening, she knows what's happening, and she sacrifices herself by throwing herself in front of Kakashi's lightning blade. And Kakashi inadvertently kills Rin by destroying the seal that was there and her heart, and it's a tragic scene. Kakashi's in tears. He's now lost. Jack, the camera's here. Jesus Christ. He's now lost his father. He's lost his. He's going to lose his sensei. He loses Obito, the boy that he was so hard on, that sacrificed everything to save him. And he loses Rin, the girl that loved him. And that breaks Kakashi. He goes through a major depressive episode for years and years and years. He joins the Ombu Black Ops after all this. It's there that he meets Itachi. He kind of forms a relationship with him. They're not like super close or anything, but that's where their prior relationship came from. He meets Yamato, who becomes a friend. And he has an encounter with Orochimaru, which will kind of be nice mirroring later on into the episode, where he tries to confront Orochimaru, but Orochimaru is just way too powerful for him and takes Kakashi down effortlessly. And that will pretty much lead us into current day Kakashi. We see him get to take on his sensei's son, Naruto, the last Uchiha, Sasuke, and Kunoichi that takes after Rin in a lot of ways. So everything's kind of become full circle. He tests them because Kakashi, for years, doesn't take on students because, in his mind, none of them have what it means to truly be a ninja. And Kakashi's criteria there is people that won't abandon their comrades. And it just shows us that years after his death, just what an impact Obito's ideology has had on forming who Kakashi has become. And he tests them on the bell test. They do horribly to begin with, and they're all tied up, and they end up passing the test because they disobey Kakashi's orders. They go against the mission, and they try and help each other. And Kakashi appears all of a sudden. He changes the weather, essentially. He's about to, let loose a lightning blade, and he's threatening them. And they explain their actions, and he gives them a big smile and says, "You guys pass." Which is just a great scene, knowing where all that's come from. He reincites Obito's doctrine, basically, to them. And they all, even Sasuke, I will say that, even Sasuke, at least at the time, take to heart what Kakashi's telling them. Because you've got to remember that, I know Sasuke gets a lot of shit. I will be the first to tell you guys, I'm not ashamed to admit that I actually quite like Sasuke. I don't think, he obviously has his faults, and there's a certain section of him in the story that kind of, I think, borders on bad writing a little bit. But overall, I reckon he's quite a good character. And he does live up to those words in the next arc that we're about to talk about, when he sacrifices himself and gets in front of Naruto. People diss him and say all this stuff about him. But as a boy, once again, a boy, he sacrificed his life for a rival. Someone that he wasn't even, proper friends with, type of thing. And that is just, that's dedication type of stuff. And since we're talking about the Land of Waves, we'll get into it. Not the arc in general, obviously, because we're going to be here for even longer than what we originally were. But we'll get into Kakashi's part of it. Oh, sorry. Kakashi confronts Zabuza, and it's the first kind of clash of powerful characters that we get in the series. And to this day, I reckon it holds up quite well. I love to go back and revisit the scene. There's a great scene where Zabuza goes up behind Kakashi. Kakashi cuts down the Zabuza that's behind him, which you find out is a water clone. And then the real Zabuza comes behind Kakashi, kicks him out of the way, and traps him in a water prison jutsu. Not to throw shade on the series, but back when Naruto was a little bit more about tactics, rather than who can throw out the strongest energy blast. That's neither here nor there, though. And he gets captured, and it's Kakashi's team that, live by Kakashi's ideology by not abandoning the mission, or by abandoning the mission, sorry, and doing their best to rescue their sensei, which they do. It might just be a water clone of Zabuza, but for them to get the upper hand there just shows how much potential that this team has. So Kakashi escapes due to Team 7's help, and then they have another confrontation on the bridge a week later, where Kakashi's not playing around anymore. They're duking it out. It's here we learn about Kakashi's Sharingan, if we're going in like chronological order. I'll get into more about his abilities with it in his how strong is he, his powers and abilities explained section. But he confronts Zabuza, and he showed in their prior battle that he's able to copy any jutsu that Zabuza uses. He's got him beat when it comes to ninjutsu. Zabuza tries to use the mist and his silent killing technique to get around Kakashi's prowess. But Kakashi realizes the struggle that his students are in and knows that he needs to wrap up this battle quickly. So he puts some of his own blood. He lets Zabuza pierce him so that Zabuza has his blood on his blade, and then Kakashi shows off his summoning jutsu. And it's a pack of hounds, pack of dogs, and they are able to lock onto Zabuza's scent through the mist. They grab him and hold him down and restrain him. That looks really cool. Kakashi's summons are very underrated, I reckon. They're not as superficially powerful as the other summons that we see, but for versatility and restrainment, they're quite good. And this is where we see, chronologically in the story, where we see Kakashi's original jutsu. And because it's quite a dig to Zabuza, because he's like, you're just a copycat. You can't do anything unique type of stuff. Everything you have is stolen by someone else. And Kakashi proves him wrong by showing him his own jutsu. He whips out the lightning blade, and he goes to pierce Zabuza and kill him. And we all know what happens. Zabuza's subordinate Haku gets in the way. Kakashi's forced to kill him, which probably wouldn't be doing good for his mental state because he's just killed a 12-year-old boy. Of course, not on purpose, but that's what he's done. And he finishes off his confrontation with Zabuza. Zabuza is not in the mental state to be able to deal with Kakashi. Kakashi immobilizes him again, and Kakashi holds Naruto back while Zabuza has his final moments. He takes down all Gato's thugs, and he meets his end. And if you think I'm just skimming over that, it's because I'm going to save all that for a proper video. It's not apathetic on my part, not liking it. I love the Land of Waves arc. And Naruto talks about how even though they were the enemies, that Naruto liked the type of people that they were, despite everything. And Kakashi agrees with him, and that's nice because Kakashi even though they're dead, meets them again later on in the series, where we'll get into. But the first arc of Naruto is over. It's the Chunin exams. Kakashi doesn't do much in it. He has another confrontation with Orochimaru that mirrors the one in the past that they had, where Kakashi stands up to defend Sasuke from Orochimaru, but Orochimaru just walks away, and Kakashi starts sweating because he knows that he wouldn't have stood a chance against him. He has a confrontation with Kabuto that doesn't lead to much, and he has a funny interaction with Guy when the Konoha Crush is going on. He's teaming up with Guy to take down all the invading Sand Jonin, And as they're beating them all up, they're having a very Gimli Legolas interaction from Lord of the Rings, where they're kind of talking about, oh, how many have you taken down? Oh, I've taken down one more than you, type of thing. I can just imagine it would be Guy that we all know that Guy would be Gimli in that relationship. Guy being like, that only counts as one. Lord of the Rings content, if you want that, even though this is an anime channel, I'd be more than willing to talk about Lord of the Rings. But that wrapped up that arc, and that's when we get into Kakashi's interaction with Itachi. First interaction they've had since Itachi left the village, and he confronts him and Kisame, and this is probably the most badass scene in Naruto up until that point. Um, and it's not for Kakashi. Kakashi kind of gets stopped here. It's such a great showing for Itachi though. The way he puts his shuriken in his hand, and Kakashi gets distracted. He doesn't see Itachi's hand signs at all. He tries to defend himself, and it leads to Kakashi getting overconfident, thinking that his Sharingan allows him to combat Itachi's Genjutsu, but Itachi goes daddy mode on him and puts him in the Tsukiyome and tortures him for 3 days straight. And the 3 days of torture that's happening is just a single second in the real world. Uh, oh, excuse me, I keep needing to clear my throat. And Kakashi falls unconscious. Um, since we go into a lot of One Piece in this channel, it reminds me a lot actually of the scene that mirrors this in One Piece to me is when Hawkeye appears and the disrespect he shows Zoro. Those two scenes there. Of course, the Naruto scene is like 100 episodes plus into the series, where the Hawkeye one's about like 20. But the disrespect that those two characters show their opponents is just legendary. I love it. But that happens. Itachi then goes on and stomps Sasuke, and Kakashi can see where Sasuke is going down, and he restrains him, not maliciously or anything like that, but he wants to have a conversation with Sasuke, and it's probably, like, chronologically, like we're saying, the first time we see Kakashi get really, really deep and just understand just who this man is that we've come to know. Because Sasuke's raging at him, he's thrashing at him, and he's like, hey, you don't know what it feels like. How about I kill everyone you've ever known, and then we'll see what you will do about it. And Kakashi just... and he does it with a smile on his face. Something I can relate to, not to go Dr. Phil on you all, but smiling through the pain. I'm sure a lot of you watching and stuff like that can remember times where you've done it before. And Kakashi just tells him so tragically that you're a little bit too late, Sasuke. Everyone you're talking about is already dead. And that is just, like I said, as much as I like Sasuke, we see him, we see how much of a wreck losing his family makes him, and for Kakashi just to say it to him, lay down the whole dark, cold truth of it, and seeing kind of Sasuke's, not immaturity, because I'm never going to say a 12-year-old boy raging about his family being dying is immature, but he gets a cold reality grip into the world that they're living in, and he doesn't take it like this. But this would have been a great scene to show Sasuke that he's not the only one. Tragedy hasn't just befallen Sasuke, it's befallen everyone around him. And Sasuke does come to learn that, because it's the misfortune of their lives, the darkness and hardships that they had to go through, that makes him be able to connect with Naruto so well. He couldn't have that relation with Kakashi, probably because of the age disparity there, and he gets that connection with Naruto. But Kakashi is away on a mission when Sasuke leaves the village and the Sasuke retrieval team go after him. The only part he has to play in it is that he's the one that goes to he's the one that makes it to the final valley to try and stop them, but he's too late. Sasuke's already gone, and Naruto's in critical condition. And he takes Naruto and he heads back to the Leaf Village to Tsunade, where Tsunade's that would be able to heal Naruto. And this is like, it's very sad when you think about it, because he's just lost someone else, Kakashi, that is. He's tried to teach these kids. He hasn't taught Naruto much. That is a bit of a blunder on Kakashi's part. But from what we're supposed to think is that these are the students that he's decided to take under his wing, and he's declined group after group of Genin before this, and he's finally settled on one. And what's happened? One has tried to kill the other, and has now left the village and turned traitor. So Kakashi would just be feeling a lot of disappointment in himself, a lot of bitterness, a lot of self-hatred, a lot of self-esteem issues. He would be considering himself a failure. Like, everyone around him, is lost somehow, and he's not capable enough to save them. So it's just further fuel to the fire on the bonfire that is Kakashi's depression. But because he also doesn't know if Naruto's going to survive this. Like, Naruto could die in here. That's what he could be thinking, that Naruto's going to die, and now he's just lost two other people. But thankfully, he's the MC. He doesn't die. He gets Naruto back to the Leaf Village, and that pretty much wraps up Kakashi's part in pre-time skip. The time skip happens, and he has his reunion with Naruto. He gives Naruto and Sakura the bell test to do again, and he sees how much they've developed by them succeeding in the bell test this time. They're able to actually get the bell. But to be honest, Kakashi's probably thinking, oh boy, Naruto, you haven't improved very much. Does anyone else think that Naruto's training arc is, that specific training arc, is the worst training arc in all of Shonen? Because raise your hand if you think that. He basically learns nothing. It was probably the most disappointed I've ever been in the series. But they go on and they go to the Land of Wind. They go to the Hidden Sand Village because Gaara, the Kazekage, has been captured and by the Akatsuki, and that they're there to retrieve him. Kakashi's part in it is that he has some nice back and forth with Chiyo that's nice, but his main part of it is his fight with Deidara. It's not much of a fight because Deidara's trying to get rid of Kakashi. He's not trying to kill him. He just wants to separate Kakashi from Naruto. So it's not like a 1v1 Sasuke vs Deidara type of thing. But it is the means that we get to see Kakashi's new ability. Not so much new ability because he's used it before in his past unknowingly, but the first time we've seen him use it on screen willingly, and that is his Mangekyo Sharingan technique, the Kamawi. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I was kind of trying to be cute with it before, but we all know that Obito's still alive. And Kakashi can use the long-range version of Obito's technique because it's Obito's Sharingan. And he uses it, and he dismembers Deidara, gets rid of his arm in a really cool scene. And he later on then uses it again to save Team Kakashi and Team Guy, who had come up for backup from a Deidara explosion, and he's able to suck in all the explosion and save everyone. It causes him to be bedridden because at this stage, Kakashi's body, he's not an Uchiha. He's not built to be able to handle the Mangekyo Sharingan techniques. So every time that he uses it, it causes him to be bedridden. Um, but we were talking about the bonfire of depression before. Let's make that a wildfire because what happens next is that Asuma dies, one of Kakashi's friends from childhood, and Kakashi joins the remaining members of Team Asuma to get revenge and take down the Akatsuki members that did him in. We see much more of a fight from Kakashi this time, where he takes on Hidan and Kakazu. Um, let's do the feats of this fight really quickly. He's able to contend with and overwhelm Hidan in like close combat. Um, and he's also able to kind of fight on par with Kakazu for a time. Um, he Kakazu and Hidan have very hacks abilities when it comes to durability, regeneration, not dying type of stuff. Because Kakashi, what is it? It's two hearts that Kakashi takes down of Kakazu. He embarrasses him where he lightning blades him from behind and takes out his first heart, makes Kakazu look like a child. And the second one he's able to do sneakily through Shikamaru's plot by taking Kakazu's blood and causing Hidan to indirectly take out one of Kakazu's other hearts. That leaves Kakazu with three, but he has Kakashi pinned down. So we're like I said, we're going into like feats here type of things. So Kakashi being weaker than Kakazu at this stage is kind of displayed here. Um, I don't really care like him using Kamui could be a means for him to beat Kakazu. There could be a lot of different ways though that Kakazu could escape Kamui. But I'm gonna say I might do a verse battle. Do you reckon? Kakazu versus Kakashi sounds pretty interesting to me. I might put that in the pipework for a future video. But at that stage, at least, he gets beaten down by Kakazu, and it is Naruto that comes and saves the day. And he then takes down Kakazu with the technique that Kakashi has been helping him learn. So this is probably the first time we see Kakashi actually help Naruto learn a jutsu. I know it's kind of up there with the whole meme of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, like leaving Naruto to a horrible fate. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I see why people think it. And I see why people think Kakashi is a pretty bad teacher to Naruto for a long time. Because he teaches him to climb trees without hands, put chakra to his feet. But that's basic. You'd hope that he would teach him that. He doesn't teach him the walk on water technique. Jiraiya is there for all of that. But he does teach him how to add a nature transformation to his Rasengan to make it even more powerful. Um, and when Naruto saves Kakashi, Kakashi gets not a vision, he sees a silhouette of Minato in Naruto's place. That's quite a nice scene to see Kakashi see Naruto try and kind of step into his father's shoes. And with that scene, it pretty much Kakashi has a confrontation with Obito, who was going by Toby at the time. He sees Toby's Sharingan. I do wonder if he kind of has speculation at that time that that is Obito. Obviously, he would think if that came into his mind, he would immediately, get rid of it. But it is. I do wonder, like subconsciously, if we could have got a monologue from him. He's like Obito, but they don't find anything out. It's not until the war that Kakashi finds out who Toby really is. And I'll touch on, because I know this video is getting long, haven't even gotten into his powers yet. We'll touch on his involvement in the Pain arc, and then we'll go into him in the war. Don't worry if you guys are freaking out about this long video being even longer. I'll only do the key details of what happens in the war. But Kakashi goes... What do you mean? Jack, what are you talking about? He doesn't go. He's in the Hidden Leaf Village. Damn it, guys. I said last video that I was going to get through my next video with no interruptions, no cuts whatsoever. And when I realized I was making this video tonight, I was like, oh, Jack, why did you promise that? This is going to be like an hour long video. And so far, it had been no interruptions. Up until this point, we got it all done in one set. But I completely butchered it. I started talking about paths that weren't the actual proper paths that Kakashi fights. And I just, damn it, I was so close. Next video, though, definitely, we're going to get it all done in one cut. Don't hold me to that. But I will say, because I didn't say it in the beginning of this video, if you guys have got this far, you will have realized already. But these videos aren't scripted anymore. So tangents, talking over myself, talking in circles is all par of the course for this channel going forward. If you guys can deal with that, I would really appreciate it. But let's get back to the video. What do you guys reckon? Can we get it all done in one more go, or is there going to be another cut? Leave it down in the comments what you guys think. But basically, where we're up to is Kakashi's involvement in the Pain arc, and he takes on the Diva path, and he takes on the Ashura path, and he's teamed up with Choza and Choji, and they are able to do a pretty good showing. They take down the Ashura path, and that leaves them with taking on the Diva path. Now, we all know how powerful the Diva path is. He's probably stronger than the other 5 paths put together. But Kakashi goes in for the killing blow. Pain's abilities that we thought were restricted at the time aren't, because of the involvement of the other path getting in the way of things. Pain, Shinrei tenseis them all. It's a very beautiful scene. Choza steps in front of his son Choji. And Kakashi gets blown into rubble and he gets immobilized. And Pain does this badass move where he uses his power to get a nail and he flicks it at Kakashi. And we think it kills him, and Pain thinks that as well. But what really happens is that Kakashi kamawees it before it hits him in the head. And it leads to... I did a video a long time ago. I'm hesitant whether or not I should tell you to go back and watch it. The 10 most emotional moments in Naruto. Once again, I will shamelessly self-advertise, and I will throw it up on screen. But I can't remember where I chose to put this scene. I imagine it probably would have been in the top 5, potentially the top 3. It's Kakashi's death. This was done with the music that was going on in the background. Kakashi's resolve. It was just it sometimes puts a tear to my eye. Naruto has this series, has this power to make me very emotional, I reckon. It was the first anime I've ever seen, not including Pokemon. I watched it when I was about 9 or 10 years old. And it makes me more emotional than One Piece. I do like One Piece more overall. But in terms of getting me emotional, it's probably the anime that does it the most. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of nostalgia. But Kakashi uses his abilities because Choji is trying to run to Tsunade to relay information that's critical to take down Pain's abilities, the Diva Path's abilities. And the Ashura Path uses his missile to launch at Choji. And given Choji's durability and his level of power, it would kill him if it hit him. And Kakashi sees this. One, he doesn't want Choji to die, but he knows that this information needs to get out there. And he's inner monologuing to himself, and he's resolving himself, he's hyping himself up, being like, if I use this technique one more time, I will die. But this information needs to get to those who live, and he uses his kamui from a really long distance. He sucks up the missile. Choji gets away and relays the information, and Kakashi, from chakra exhaustion, dies. Just seeing Kakashi being so determined and prepared to throw his life down for his village, for his nakama, it was just a great scene. It wasn't as emotional for me for with Jiraiya. That will leave me in tears. But I definitely had a tear in my eye watching that scene. Even talking about it gets me a little bit choked up. Um, but Kakashi goes to the afterlife. I will also say, is this a fun fact? Is he the first person to die by chakra exhaustion? Um, I think he might be. Let me know down in the comments if I'm missing anyone. But he goes to the afterlife and he meets his father, Sakumo. We don't get to see anything really. They just, Kakashi talks about his life because Sakumo asks. And we find out, that Kakashi's mother died before Sakumo. We kind of assumed that, but who knows? She may have just abandoned him. So that's confirmation that Kakashi's mother is dead, and it's left up to our own devices and headcanon to picture Kakashi retelling his life to Sakumo. It's quite a heartwarming scene to know that the characters in this show have some sort of an afterlife where they can meet back with their loved ones. It makes us as the viewers who can see just what a hard world that these characters live in, that at least when they do die, it's not just nothingness, that they do have something to go to. I thought that was heartwarming at least. And, oh, sorry, I keep having to burp in this video. I really do apologize for that. I think it's because all the talking. I don't know if you guys get that, but I could just be really weird. But when I go on for long periods of time just talking and gushing about my favorite anime series, it apparently appears to make me burp, because I know I was doing it a lot in the previous video. Um, there's a useless tangent to the insights of my life and anatomy. There you guys go. But, we all know what happens. Naruto convinces Nagato to revive everyone, and he becomes the hero of the Hidden Leaf Village. We're going on another tangent here. I'm self-aware of this one, though. I know that it's coming. Naruto, because Kakashi goes and gets Naruto after he kind of collapses from being exhausted, and he piggyback rides him to the Leaf Village to see everyone cheering and applauding Naruto, and Naruto shocked and overwhelmed by it all. I feel like me as the viewer watching it was very overwhelmed by it all, because this is where the tangent comes in. That video that I just, self-advertised before about the emotional moments in Naruto, I think I actually, what? I'm not going to tell you where I put it. It's quite high up on the list, spoiler alert. And it's not a sad scene, it's happiness. But to see Naruto finally be recognized by everyone, the kid that we've been watching, or I had at the time had been watching for years, was even more emotional than Kakashi's death. And this is where I was going with this. Jiraiya's death, leading into Kakashi's death, leading into Naruto being recognized as a hero, is just soul destroying in terms of emotional moments in not an anime, in fiction. It doesn't help that the Deidara Sasuke fight leading into the Sasuke Itachi fight, the Jiraiya Pain fight, Naruto's training arc to the Pain arc, leading into the Five Kage Summit arc, leading into Danzo's fight with Sasuke. I think that might be the best just continuous stretch of an anime that we've ever seen. So not only the most emotional, but the coolest to watch. like I said, I like One Piece more overall, because I reckon it reaches heights more, like in just general in the series. But like continuously, that was Kishimoto. He nailed it. Um, Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Do you agree with my take on that, or do you guys have some, other consecutive series of arcs that you reckon are just as good, both in terms of just from a storytelling perspective, give me that, but also give me in terms of an emotional continuation, because I do reckon Naruto there pretty much sits as the undisputed king of that. But this leads us into the war. Like I said, we're not going to go too much into this because we do need to get into his powers and abilities. Kakashi has a confrontation with a revived Edo Tensei, Zabuza, and Haku, which is just very beautiful. There's a mirroring of the scene where Haku gets in the way of Kakashi's lightning blade, and Kakashi, with the help of his comrades, is able to seal the two of them. He then goes on to have some fights, canon with the Seven Ninja Swordsman. I believe it was non-canon anime only, but he has fights with. Oh, I'm showing my lack of Naruto knowledge here. The swordsman that wields the sewing needle and the swordsman that wields the splatter. I can picture exactly what they look like, but I could not picture their names. I'll put pictures on the screens of them, and I'll leave the names on the video. But he has an anime, at least I'm assuming an anime only scene. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is actually a very kind of cool fight. And he teams up with Guy to do it. So any type of time we can see Gimli and Legolas team up to fight opponents, I'm more than there for. But the only other major thing that Kakashi does in the war is when he Jack, the only other major thing, he does the most major thing in the war. And that is team up with Naruto, B, and Guy to take on Obito and the Tailed Beast. Kakashi does a pretty good job here, confronting the Tailed Beast with Guy. Sorry. At this current time, Naruto is the strongest out of the four of them, and to see Kakashi be able to fight side by side with Naruto here as an equal is very nice to see. Everything's become full circle. And they're fighting, like I said, I'm not going to go super deep into this because why am I going to shoot myself in the foot when I can make a separate video on this battle? But it leads to them using a strategy to separate Obito from the tailed beast that he had summoned, leads to Madara showing up, the real Madara, and leads to Obito's identity being revealed, which shocks Kakashi so much so that he kind of loses all function and reasoning, which is completely understandable. Once again, great writing by Kishimoto here. It's Naruto that kind of snaps him out of it, which is just Naruto's relationship with Kakashi gets so much better from the training of the Rasen Shuriken to like current day Naruto. It actually does seem like they're close, and Naruto being the one to kind of get Kakashi out of his momentary depression there is just lovely to see. It leads to a fight between Kakashi and Obito in the Kamui dimension. Once again, not going to shoot myself in the other foot by spoiling. Apologies from the notification just on my phone now. I thought I had that on silent. But I'm not going to spoil that fight. I'll do a whole video on it. But the main scene that I want to go in there, because I'm not even going to talk about the terms of feat in terms of the strength involved there, like, Kakashi being Obito's level and stuff. Because lots of it were illusions, lots of it were Obito wanting Kakashi to... I'll get into that. My point of the matter is, it's quite a hard fight to determine one way or the other. So I'll leave that for now. I'll want to talk about one scene, the most important scene in the fight. Kakashi uses the lightning blade and pierces through Obito's chest in the same way that he pierces through Rin's. Um, I was just gushing about Kishimoto's storytelling. There's another example of it. Just using the mirroring there between scenes just to tell the story just from that. It's the epitome of showing and not telling, and even it's even more multifaceted in the sense that Kakashi doing that is what destroys the seal that Madara had planted on Obito's chest. So we think that it's you know a depressing moment that Kakashi has thought he stopped the bad guy, but in doing so gets reminded about how he killed his other best friend, and now he's being forced to contemplate, well, not contemplate, trying to kill his former best friend, who's now mortal enemy. Only to realize that by doing this, it's actually destroying the chains that are binding Obito to Madara. It is just, it's a multifaceted, big brain scene that needs to be gushed about even more than it already is. There's a lot of people that will tell you that Obito versus Kakashi in that Kamui dimension is the best fight in Naruto, and I probably wouldn't say that it is. But if you had that argument and you were debating it with me, I would see why you would think that. Like, I would never kind of give you shit to have that fight so high up on the list because it just hits all the right emotional chords. Um, I won't. I'm, spoiler alert, a huge wrestling fan. Um, and I don't know if people watch wrestling, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But current day wrestling is a good example of it is the story in a fight that makes fights on a legendary tier. What I mean by that is that you can have all the superficial, back and forth, cool choreography, CGI, animation. It could look great, like an Ubisoft type of presentation. Now, I'm not saying that they don't add story to it, but just for an example for you guys, you can have all of that. And there could be a fight that has, it's toned down a lot, but it has the story in it, the relationship between the two characters that just escalate it into a different tier. And that's what's needed to just make fights legendary compared to just epic and fantastic type of stuff. But he has his fight with Obito. Obito unfortunately dies. Kakashi just losing another friend. Well, not losing another friend, but losing the same friend that he thought was already dead. It's like someone accidentally running over a dog and then getting out of their car and shooting it. It is, it is overkill. Kishimoto must hate this character with all the shit that that he gives to Kakashi. It's quite similar to Momo Hinamori from Bleach, and just all the shit that she has to go through. The Kubo and Kishimoto just love to dump on them. But Obito dies, and Obito's spirit kind of invades Kakashi. Not like that, perverts. But Kakashi, through that, gets Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan. So he gets dual Mangekyo Sharingan, and he's able to activate a perfect Susanoo. He goes from, one of the strongest characters, one of the strongest normal characters in the verse, to... I don't know if this is going to kick a lot of you off this video, to stronger than Sasuke and Naruto, potentially. Once again, not going to shoot myself in the foot. I'm definitely going to be doing, out of all the fights we've talked about, this one specifically, like the verse battle here, I'm definitely going to go into in a separate video, because it needs a good 30-40 minutes discussing it. I'm sure a lot of people could do it in 10, but with the rants that I'm prone to go on, it would take that long. I would say that there's a very good argument that in that battle with Kaguya, and that specific limited version of Kakashi, that Kakashi is stronger than Sasuke and Naruto. Um, fight Dan, fight me in the comments about it. I will say that this hasn't got me. This isn't me spoiling you guys for the video that I'll put out about it, because it's one of those things where I very much could be convinced otherwise. I'm not so stubborn. I mean, I'm not, regardless of who I think would win in a fight, I'm not so stubborn where I can't listen to other people's opinions to change my mind on it. Lots of anime fans need to learn to be able to be flexible with stuff like that. But even less than that, I don't even have that Kakashi being stronger, like, totally, like, locked in. But if someone had a gun to my head, I probably would say Kakashi would win that fight. That's another thing. Sasuke and Naruto are more powerful, but Kakashi's hacks ability with his Kamui shurikens, uh, and the fact that he can Kamui himself and his Susanoo, is just kind of end boss mind breaking, game breaking mechanics there. He's very much overpowered. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all that. Um, Naruto and Sasuke is able to seal Kaguya. Naruto and Sasuke then have their final fight. Um, Kakashi's there to find them when they're both defeated, and the story ends. For all you Boruto fans, the proper story ends. Um, I will. I like to think that I've watched tons and tons of anime, like so much anime that I'm just never going to cover on this channel. It's I'm the shonen guy. That's my favorite anime, but I have seen many, many, many anime, and I have yet to finish Boruto, even the manga. It's just not really for me. When it finishes, I'll probably give it another go, but I have already given it 2 goes, and it just wasn't my cup of tea, the anime nor the manga. And it's not even because of all the aliens involved in it. I don't like Kaguya is very reminiscent for me from Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones. I bet you all didn't think that Game of Thrones would be getting a mention here, in the sense that with Danny and Kaguya, it's not the end result that I had an issue with. It's not Kaguya like making an appearance, and it's not Danny going mad. It is the lead up to how they got there. Um, if it was foreshadowed a lot more, if it was happened a lot earlier and built up to it all, with both ladies in this case, it would have, I reckon it would have been like perfect. I wouldn't have had an issue with it whatsoever. Boruto just has more negatives to it than just the overpowered aliens. But I'll make a whole Boruto video on my thoughts on it, about not really being for me, another day. Um, and once again, I kind of spoke about it with Lord of the Rings. I imagine a lot of people that like anime, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, um, would meet your sensibilities. I could be wrong there, obviously. And I probably would never do it on this channel because it's a very small channel. I don't want, the algorithm to get too messed up with anime content and movie and TV show content. But if we ever get a big enough following on this channel, what are we talking about if we ever? We are going to get a big enough following. Positivity, guys. I could definitely be spoken into making a second channel where we go over movies and TV shows. I would more than love to do that. But let's wrap this video up with Kakashi becomes anticlimactically, in the sense of how long this video has been, becomes the sixth Hokage. He loses his Sharingan. He develops purple lightning as a new jutsu, and he reigns until he reigns. I'm in a Game of Thrones mode now. He is Hokage until Naruto takes the mantle off of him. And then it truly does become full circle. And Kakashi, that sums up everything in Kakashi's life. It is a truly tragic, beautiful, and heartwarming story. All the best characters tend to have that. Um, it's something that a lot of real life people watching can come to terms with all of the depression that we can imagine Kakashi feels. Because Kishimoto touches on it, but it's a shonen series directed towards young boys. It doesn't get touched on like it would in like a seinen type of thing, or even in a more like westernized movie TV show type of format, where it doesn't touch on his depression much. It kind of just trusts that the fans and viewers watching would put it all together. But most people you've met, myself included, unfortunately, um, will have suffered from depression in the past. Um, for many different reasons, they would have suffered depression. But in this case, in Kakashi's case, it's from loss. Um, Lots of people have lost numerous people, back to back, and it's broken them. I don't want to say it's broken them. Like I said, we want to be positive. It's it's delayed them. Delayed's not the right word. You can tell that I'm not a counselor. Um, it's held them down for a time because they're going to eventually be able to overcome this grief and get over it. But like I myself have lost my father and lost other people, and it's a hard thing to be able to come to terms with because it's something that feels so out of your power and unfair. And everyone's lost someone, and if you haven't lost someone, everyone's experienced depression for other reasons. And I feel like I said, I don't want to make this a self-help episode, but for someone like me who's very much suffered from a lot of depression in my life, I just want to be spreading goodwill to everyone watching, positivity, that whatever struggles that you guys might be going through, that it will get better. Whether or not it's watching YouTubers on YouTube, whether or not it's getting out of the house, whether or not it's waking up and making your bed. If you guys keep putting one foot in front of the other, the struggles that you're all currently facing will not go away. I think that's a bold-faced lie a lot of the time, but you will get strong enough to be able to handle the difficulties that life has thrown at you and will continue to throw at you. It's part of growing and becoming stronger as a person. Unfortunately, we don't have the powers to start throwing out Rasengans and Rasen Shurikens and shit like that. Our strength comes from our inner fortitude. So, all the best wishes to everyone watching. That would have been a lovely way to end this video, Dr. Filling it all. But we still need to go over his powers and abilities. I promise I won't keep you guys much longer. Kakashi possesses the Sharingan. It feels so weird to talk about this after that. And we all know what the Sharingan can do. It has some base abilities. It can copy other ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. It can give you the power to cast illusions, genjutsu, on people. It can read chakra. And it has a precog ability to be able to perceive moves. Kakashi's most famous aspect of this power is to copy other people's abilities. He's known as the man that's copied over 1,000 jutsu. Kakashi, let's see more than 100 of them, because he doesn't really show that many. Nor that he really needs to, but the powers that he does show is fireball jutsus. He shows earth walls and water dragons, water vortexes, headhunter jutsus burrowing under the ground. He shows are they the main elemental ability, other than the lightning blade, of course, that he shows? He has like shuriken jutsu. He has the summoning jutsu, being able to summon his hounds. He can do the Rasengan. He has his purple lightning in Boruto, and he has his main ability, Chidori slash Lightning Blade. Um, and he has a few offsets abilities of it. Well, one, he can use the Shadow Clone Jutsu. He can use the Shadow Clone Jutsu to chain lightning blades together and use them as like a lightning cable to cut through people. He can use it to form like a dog, and the dog like bolts out into like a thunderbolt to pierce people and electrocute them. Um, he hasn't shown like a Chidori stream like Sasuke. Oh, sorry. But he has purple lightning that he can use in like a similar way to like a Chidori stream. I imagine he would be able to channel his chakra, his lightning chakra through his blade and stuff like that, his kunai and everything. Um, he's able to cast genjutsu on people. Never really seen him use genjutsu on more than like weak opponents, so we don't know just how strong he is in that. But Kakashi's I say this even though he doesn't really show it that much. His main weapon would be his versatility in all the jutsu that he apparently knows. Um, we don't see it, so I can't really. I know that if I was to go on his wiki page, there would probably be. If we highball it, I want to say 30 probably jutsu, something like that. I could be completely wrong. It could be less than that. I can't imagine be more than 30. Um, but if you were talking about him in a verse battle, which I'm prone to do, his main abilities are going to come from his Kamui. Let's face it, um, and so he's able to use long distance Kamui for most of the series. Once he goes into his Susanoo double Mangekyo mode, he has the Susanoo Mangekyo Sharingan Kamui Shuriken goddamn overpowered technique where when he's in that state he's quite possibly the strongest person in the entire series. Um, like I said, there are characters like your Madaras, your Obitos, Sasuke, Naruto, Eighth Gate Guy, Otsutsuki clan that you could argue could contend with him, but I could also see an argument that in that current form he is the strongest. His Kamui, his just basic Kamui before he goes all God mode, is limited because he's not an Uchiha like we've talked about, so he can't spam it like an Obito would. I would say that um, War Kakashi before like going God mode would be he would definitely be Kage level. Whether how strong he would be, like he wouldn't be able to beat Obito. I don't reckon. Like an Obito that isn't Jinchuriki Obito, that's just Rinnegan and Sharingan. Don't think you'd be able to beat him. Um, he'd be out. You know what? Let's just do a series of Kakashi verse battles because I can't really discuss where I would place him in terms of strength without making this video a 2 hour long video. So we'll leave it there in terms of feats. I'm gonna have to really start changing my titles up for YouTube videos because my original videos were how powerful are the characters. So we kind of cut out all the story and personality and just got into the powers of it. But now that most of these videos are who they are as people, what you need to know about them, my insights on how they function as a character in their story, I may have to change the titles of the episodes these days. Let me know down in the comments what. Have a look at my channel. Subscribe, like, comment. Go view all my hour-long videos. Get my watch hours up. But yeah, have a look at them. Tell me what you guys think is the most fitting use for a title for these type of videos. Just because in my OCD brain, I like each character analysis video. Jack, this way. Each character analysis video being named the same thing. I don't like it when it's all different. I don't know if you guys are similar like that. And you can tell that I'm new to a camera because my hands keep going off the screen when they shouldn't be. I'm sometimes looking at myself down here and sometimes looking up here at you guys. Apologies for the rawness of the videos. But if you've made it this far, I'm assuming that it hasn't been too much of a bother for you all. But if you guys commented, just it would take 2 takes to do this whole video, you are correct. I'm really surprised that I've been able to do it in this long. I'm nervous to see how long this video has been. So, Jack, let's cut this off here before it becomes even longer. I've been Jack Cypher. It's been a pleasure deciphering everything about Kakashi Hatake. Have a lovely day, guys. Like we got into the end there. I'm just wishing you all the best. Anyway, peeps out. Peeps out. We know I've been talking too long. Peeps, have a good one. Cypher out. See you later.